Hey, it's Steve Halleck of TikToking, and I'm back with another review. You can see I've got something really special today. Before I start, please click subscribe. You'll get the videos first. Normally I'll post them and not mention anything about it for a few days. So if you want them pushed directly to you, then yeah, hit subscribe and you'll get first access to them. Also, you can check me out on Instagram at Steve Halleck, and the website where you can find most of the pieces is ticktalking.com, although honestly Instagram is the best. Alright, today I've got a really cool piece. This is the Greubel Forsey 30-degree double tourbillon vision. This was the, I believe their first piece, although I don't know that it was the first version of it. I remember seeing the silver dial versions first. But they sort of blew onto the map with this double tourbillon where every bit of it is done to the nines, and so I want to walk you through it a bit. So of course you can see this one is a rose gold case. It's an anthracite dial. You've got your double tourbillon here, and that's really it. I mean, it's basically a time-only watch with this double tourbillon. There's no crazy, complications or whatever. And so Greubel is focused on a couple things, mainly absolute precision chronometry. So if you talk to Stephen or Robert, they'll talk to you all about their inventions, and they went through and they figured out the absolute best ways to make a tourbillon. And because there's some downsides to a tourbillon, you need all this extra energy to make it spin, basically. And so they came up with all these ways to make a tourbillon actually keep better time in a wristwatch, and their first invention was this double tourbillon 30 degrees. So basically there's different definitions of a double tourbillon. Some brands have a double tourbillon, which means like two tourbillons, like two separate escapements. That's not what this is, obviously. You basically have a carriage around the outside that's rotating once every 4 minutes. And on the inside, you've got a carriage that's rotating once every minute, and it is mounted at a 30-degree angle. So they did all sorts of calculations. You can see, they love showing all the science and research behind it, but they figured out that this was the best combination for chronometry, and this this was their first release. So you can see here, you've got this really cool four-tipped spider-like hand, and that's obviously connected to the 4-minute tourbillon that goes around the outside, and then this scale that indicates the seconds. It's basically a quarter of a circle, so you get the seconds there. You also have a real normal seconds hand here. Here you have a power reserve. You can see there's a nice 72-hour power reserve, which is super useful. And the first thing I want you to look at is just the proportions of everything. Everything is laid out perfectly, and then the finish of everything is like insane, right? So you've got, obviously, your eye first gets drawn to this big tourbillon bridge, which is black polished all the way around. Then you've also got the black polish on the top of all these screws. You've got the black polish here, and even in the little cap to this pinion here. And the bluing is obviously heat blued. You can't get this sort of finish from any other way, nor would Greubel, obviously. But it's just perfect. Lots of times heat bluing doesn't get super blue, or there's a lot of variation in it, and these are like spot on, and they just glow. They catch the light and they glow the most beautiful shade of blue. I also really love the shape of these hands. They're super unique, right? You never see a hand that looks like that. And it's got all these different kinds of interesting hands all on one dial, right? You've got this thing which is very delicate and unique, and then you've got this hand which is a little bit less kind of delicate, but has this interesting elongated teardrop shape. And then you've got this one, which is sort of triangular, but also carries around that teardrop motif. And then you've got the main hands that have this very curvaceous, organic form to them. So I really like that mix. And you can see that sort of mix of organic curves with straight lines carries on through the piece, right? So you've got like the stick markers here for the hours, but then you've got the Greubel logo that's this very sort of ovally, sweepy logo. You've got it on the crown also. The crown is really nice. It's big and beefy and feels amazing to turn. The watch is fully wound, but I'll give it a little bit here. It's got a real, you really feel it, and it feels great. So now I'm sure when I turned it there, you noticed that the case band is engraved all the way around. So this engraving represents infinity, which I particularly like. I think it's a cool representation of time, and I don't know, I like the concept of infinity. It's sort of important to me personally, so I really enjoy that, and it's incredibly well done. It's one of the things I didn't realize about this piece from the pictures, of just how amazing this engraving is. You can see it's got this sort of almost frosted look on the base, and then it comes up, and it's just perfectly even and incredibly defined all the way around. So Paddock's done this in a few pieces, like the Sky Moon Tourbillon and the Celestial, and a couple of these with the case back engravings, and it just makes it look really special. Before I go to the back, let's just finish with the front. A couple interesting things I've noticed. From pictures, I always thought that this outer ring was round, but you can see here, it actually gets indented into here, and the circle for this tourbillon comes into this, which I think is a really neat touch, and it accentuates just the depth there. I mean, look at that beautiful finish and the depth to that movement on the wrist. You can see also the supports for this tourbillon bridge are tall and black polished the whole way through. Just take a look at that finish. I wish anything could do this justice, but really you have to see it in person. I hope this video does this as well as something can do. But then look even at the quality of the dial, because the dial's cut off here, so you see the edge of the dial, and that had to be finished perfectly and matched up perfectly there. And the bushing here under that seconds hand and how it's mounted. It's just like perfection all the way around. Take a look at some of those details, and then I'm going to flip it. All right, let's check out the movement. Whew. So the movement here is gilt finish, so very traditional, kind of British watchmaking. Obviously, so Stephen is English and Robert is French. And so you have this sort of combination of traditional English and French watchmaking here. But this gilt finish is perfect. And the anglage on these bridges is incredible. The gold chatons are huge, and these blued screws are massive, and they're just perfect. It looks like, somebody, it almost looks like a photo where you up the clarity, and everything is so sharp that it doesn't even look real half the time. But you can see again, even the bottom of this tourbillon cage, again, extends all the way here, is black polished, and provides a mount for this double turb, which you can see really well, the whole mechanism here. So there you can see the internal cage. And again, just the depth. So I'm sure most of you watching have seen my review of the double tourbillon technique, which is actually mostly the same movement, and I think there are some little changes, but it's the same invention certainly. This case is a lot smaller. That one is, I think, listed at 47 millimeters, which is really big. The one that I had, of course, was the black DLC titanium, and so it didn't wear quite as big because the black chilled it a little bit, and the titanium, the lightness of it, didn't make it so hefty on the wrist. But the original version, this one, is actually only, it's 43.5 millimeters, I think they call it. And it sits really, really well on the wrist. It wears incredibly well, probably the best of any Greubel that I've come in contact with. So I'll show it to you on the wrist. It's got a nice gold deployant buckle, nothing crazy, but it works. And it's nice to have a deployant on a piece like this because you really, you don't want it falling off your wrist for obvious reasons. All right, so you can see it fits super nicely. As your wrist moves, you catch all that depth and the surfaces kind of all day long. It's really a pleasure to wear. It's incredibly easy to read the time. All the indications are really nice. As I said, the 72-hour power reserve is very practical. So it's actually, like, despite being an ultra exotic and obviously incredibly expensive piece, it's actually really, really nice just to wear. It's a watch that they clearly thought about what it's like to wear. And even details like these sort of now signature Greubel lugs where they are actually kind of concave and they sweep in this, again, sort of organic form, are really nice on the wrist because this is a view that you often have. And it just gives you something super special even if you're not looking here. The case band engraving. Also, you obviously know you've got a real heavy hitter on whenever you have this piece on, and you know you could daily wear this watch if you can pull off a big gold watch. But other than that, it's really easy to wear. It's nice on the wrist. It's got everything that you would need, and so what more can I say? This is as good as it gets. This is the tip top of horology. And, obviously everybody aspires to make watches like this. So I'm glad to share it with you. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys soon.